behave in your everyday life? What does the Bible teach us? How do we find the job that we need to work? How do we find a ministry, our calling, and etc.?
Been walking all day.
How do we know exactly
So
what God
tired.
wants from us?
So this video is towards those who are wanting to become independent from their parents, or who already are. So there are different methods of how you can become biblically independent from your parents. But first, don't think of your parents as like you're a slave to them or like you're masters of some sort. Your parents really love you and they take care of you. And for those of you who are exceptions, who don't have loving parents, the great majority of you watching, your parents really love you, and what they wish for you is the best. So leaving your parents' authority shouldn't be something like, oh, I don't want to obey them anymore, so I'm going to leave. It should be more of a, I'm growing up, I need to master and learn how to take care of my own responsibilities, and so that's why I'm leaving. So make sure you have the right priorities. So here's the different ways that I see in the Bible and logically speaking that you can become independent from your parents. First of all, who pays the bills makes the rules. Financial independence. Okay, so you, while obeying your parents and everything they tell you to do, talk to them and ask them, say, hey, I got this opportunity for a job, or I'm trying to start doing something. Do you allow me to do that? It's going to be these days and these hours, and most parents, they'd be happy to support you in that. So don't hesitate. Speak to them, and maybe by starting to work, or maybe opening your own business, or starting to do something by yourself, you can gain financial independence. And when you are financially independent, and move out, so your parents basically don't cover any of your needs, you are your own boss, and your job then is to honor your parents. And I'm saying this because Apostle Paul never was married, and a lot of people see marriage as one of the only ways to gain independence from parents, and that's not true. Second way is marriage, that I just mentioned. When you get married, you meet with a person, of course you talk to your parents about marriage and get their advice and everything. Make sure they bless your marriage. When you're married, you automatically separate from your parents and you become one with your wife, and you guys begin a completely new family. And from that point on, you also just honor your parents and their advice, but you don't necessarily have to obey it. So they can tell you some advice about life and stuff, but if you as a family decide that you want to do something else and that's better, go ahead. Because, well, take heed to the advice of your parents, but if you decide to, man, it's starting to rain. If you decide to make your own choices, go ahead and make your own choices. And the third way to do it is through the parents' death, of course. So if your parents die, you become independent of them. Or if they disown you for whatever particular reason there is for it, or leave you, those are kind of like given. You should know these because they're kind of common sense. So now, as a single individual, how should you behave in your everyday life? What does the Bible teach us? How do we find the job that we need to work? How do we find a ministry, our calling, and etc.? How do we know exactly what God wants from us?